I will call the meeting of the Environment and Land Use to order at 8:30 in the morning, and roll call of members. Larson here.
Severson here.
Klein here.
Munson here.
Todd here.
Okay. Kevin Whalen missing? Five. Five. There's one more missing.
Kevin and Kelly.
Kelly, there it is, yep, okay. Okay, good enough. Certification open meeting law requirements have been met, I believe so. Not over here. Adoption of our agenda, a 15-item agenda.
So move.
Second. Okay, any questions, comments, adjustments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, carried. Adoption of the minutes from the July 3rd meeting. Did anybody read them?
Everybody.
You're saying everybody read that?
Yep. Okay. Looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Motion second to approve the minutes. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have a public hearing. Call the public hearing to order at 8:32 and have the secretary read the notice aloud.
There will be a public hearing before the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin. The purpose is for a land use change rezone from exclusive ag to commercial on approximately 1 acre more or less for the purpose of erecting mini storage buildings. The location is part of the southwest one quarter of the northeast one quarter of section 27, township 22 north, range 9 west, town of Burnside, Trempealeau County, Wisconsin. The parcel number follows. Upon request, a map of the property may be obtained from the Department of Land Management. The hearing is requested by Dallas J. Smichik, owner petitioner. Trumpealeau County invites you to join this meeting as follows. To provide public comment on these hearings, please call 715-538-1894. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Verge Gamrath with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916 or email at verge.gamrath@county.trempealeau.wisconsin.us. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comments to Department of Land Management, 18600 Hobson Street, Wisconsin, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to Verge once again. All emails and written comments must be received by August 6th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author and the request that the letter be read at a particular meeting date. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Verge Gamrath of the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916. Sincerely, Verge Gamrath, zoning technician.
Thank you. Verge has got some information about it.
Yes. First, I'd like to acknowledge Dallas and Amber Samitsik, who are here with us this morning. So the rezone is on approximately 1.04 acres, more or less, from exclusive ag to commercial. And it's for the purpose of erecting mini storage buildings. The land was in the floodplain, and Dallas worked to remove that from FEMA, and the letter of map amendment was in your packets. We have a letter from the town of Burnside regarding the request. It was published in the newspaper on July 17th and July 24th, and I received no responses from the public. And letters were sent to adjoining landowners. And to comply with state statutes, the rezone was filed with the county clerk's office. The town clerk received notice, and the county board supervisor, Robert Becker, was notified. If approved, this would go to full county board on August 19th. There was a map also of the layout of the area for his buildings in your packet also. And Dallas and Amber are here to answer any questions.
Well, at this point, I'll ask the Smeechiks, do you have anything you wish to add to this at this point? None? Okay. Any other public testimony in regard to this? Sir, come up to the microphone. Did you sign up for, yeah, okay, I didn't. Okay,
Oh, yeah, that's okay, go ahead.
go ahead, yep.
My name is Tom Marsalis. I'm adjoining landowner next to the Semisex. And my biggest concern is safety with added traffic going in and out of Squaw Valley. It's a hard left turn going in there, and it's very dangerous, especially somebody taking a left-hand turn. It's a blind corner. And there's also quite a bit of traffic as far as school bus, milk haulers, your regular traffic. Plus, I'm a farmer, so there's large agricultural equipment going through there. So I'll have to watch, again, for added traffic. And I guess that's my biggest thing, is the safety of it, of the traffic going through. The other thing, I was wondering, where is the exit and entrance to this? That'd be my biggest question, because that poses the biggest threat. And that's all I have to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
Is there any other public testimony? None? Any other? Okay. And then the letter from the town?
Okay, I have a letter dated January 13th, 2023. It says, "Dear Mr. Carlson, Dallas Semitsic appeared before the Town of Burnside Board of Supervisors at their March 13th, 2024 regular meeting regarding rezoning a part of his residential property to commercial. The Town of Burnside has no objection to the consideration of a rezoning request to commercial for the purposes of a storage units. Please let me know if you require additional information or would like further clarification. Sincerely, Melissa Kono, Town Clerk, Town of Burnside."
Thank you. Seeing no other testimony, I will close the public hearing at 8:38 and open it up to the committee for discussion.
I guess I would, like to have that question, the question that was posed, answered about the driveway, if you guys could do that.
Dale Smeetsic. Currently, there's a driveway. It would need to be expanded a little bit to the north part of the property, approximately across from the north bordering neighbor road rings. That was the proposed driveway for the property. The secondary proposed driveway, if that doesn't work out, would be to install one between sheds 1 and 3 onto Squaw Valley Road. Yep, right there.
Can you take the arrow back to the first one? I missed where the arrow was. Right there?
Yep, along there.
That would be a county road, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
That would be better than on the town road. I don't know how wide that town road would be, but that would be the safest, would be on the county road, if there's enough road frontage there to do that.
And they would go through, if it was the county one, they would have to go through the highway department to get it properly permitted, so that would be looked at for all the reasons that Tom had mentioned. And if they don't feel meets the requirements, then they would probably require it to be on the town road. But I think visibility-wise, it's okay both directions there, and if I remember, right around the corner, but I know the other way it is, but just to emphasize that the highway department would be involved in the driveway, giving the okay on it, I guess.
Any other questions, information?
I guess the floodplain question, how did that get rectified, or what changed there?
I hired a land surveyor. We petitioned for a LOMA, and then that went through the process, and they removed it through surveyor.
Yeah, we have a letter of map amendment. It was in the packets.
Yep, yep.
That it was removed from the floodplain. Also, I was gonna ask, Dallas, did you talk to the town or the county about the driveways? For clarification.
I talked to the town board member just in a unofficial conversation, and he didn't see an issue with it. He said there should be plenty of room there for the town road. The county, I did not, just because I'm doing it one step at a time right now, so.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Just wanted to clarify that, yeah.
Anything else? If not, somebody willing to make a motion to approve it?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay,
Do we put a contingency on where a driveway would be, or no?
well, can we?
We can't, we can't?
With a rezone, I don't think we have that.
No, I think we have some unanswered questions. I think it's certainly a really, it's a concern that's gonna have to be addressed either with the town or potentially with the county highway department. It certainly is a valid one that was expressed. Until we know where it's going to go, I think it's hard to make that as that type of specific contingency.
Contingency?
You could,
So without them coming back for another public hearing or whatever, how do we proceed with this then to decide where a driveway would be?
we don't have the authority
don't
to
have any authority to
decide for the
decide that.
town or the county highway department.
If they're asking a conditional use, we'd have some authority with that, but not with a rezone, correct?
Yep. And we couldn't, I think we could request that they proceed one way or the other, but it becomes more convoluted.
Well, we're just approving the rezone
Right, yeah.
exclusive ag to the commercial,
Right.
and then the zoning department has to take care of the rest of it. Along with that.
Okay. Okay. It appears the only real issue is the driveway and safety and accessibility. I don't know as far as any other safety concerns that we can, that we have authority to deal with. I don't know. That I don't think we do we?
No, as
Okay.
a rezone, no.
No.
You know, I will say I own storage units, and for safety issues, there's just not a whole lot of people that go in and out of storage units
Right.
every day, all day long. So you're gonna get one a week, two a week. I mean, when he first gets it loaded, you know, with people coming in there and
Right.
filling up the storage units might be something different, but to go back and forth, I mean, these storage units sit for 5, 6, 7, 8 months, and nobody's ever around. They just store in their stuff. So when it comes to safety, if it helps it a little bit, it's just not a lot of traffic when it comes to that. So just want to put my 2 cents in.
I was saying, I know I made a motion, but I had another question.
Because we see the size on here, how many units are gonna be out there?
Just to start, there would be one, and then that's more of a total expansion. One, the unit 1 and 2 would be flip-flopped. I'd build the one where unit 2 is first, so.
Okay,
And then it'd be approximately 10
Okay.
doubles. So.
okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I have a question. Someone second Stacy's motion.
Not yet.
I thought I heard. So we don't, I thought I heard one. Sorry. Anybody second the motion? I'll second the motion. Okay. No. Okay, anything else? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of this resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Good to go deal with highway department or town board.
Dave, because this is a rezone, it has to go to full county
the full
board for
county board,
final
that's right,
approval on August 19th, so,
Yep.
and I'll email you, okay? All right. Thank you.
Yep. The next public hearing is called to order at 8:45. And please read the,
You are hereby given notice that the following conditional use permit will be before the Environment and Land Use Committee on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024 at 8:35 a.m. in the County Boardroom of the Courthouse, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773. The hearing is requested by Matthew Oldendorf, owner, Blair, Wisconsin, Brecky Ridge Broilers operator, to consider a conditional use permit for an expansion of an existing livestock sighting permit. The location is the northeast one quarter of the southwest one quarter, section 31, township 21 north, range 7 west, in the town of Preston, Trempealeau County, Wisconsin. The parcel number follows. To provide public comment on this hearing during the meeting, please call 715-538-1894. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Haley Passo with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1917 or email to haley.passo@county.trempealeau.wisconsin.us. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comments to the Department of Land Management, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to, once again, Haley. All emails and written comments must be received by August 6, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give the presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Haley Passo of the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1917. Sincerely, Haley Passo, County Conservationist.
thank you. Haley,
Yeah, okay, so this is a CUP for a livestock sighting modification going from 250 to 500 for broilers. They are adding a second barn onto the property. This was published in the Trempealeau County Times, July 17th and July 24th of 2024. There is a letter from the town dated July 18th, 2024. I have not received any emails or phone calls or written comments about the CUP. All the surrounding neighbors were notified. There is an existing barn, and they're going to be adding an additional one. The original livestock sighting permit was for 250 animal units. They are adding the additional barn, so that adds an additional 250. That's why we're here today. They will be expanding the compost shed to allow for that additional animal units. They have an updated NMP, or the nutrient management plan, and with one comment that was questioned with Dave Larson, he gave me a call, was the lot line, and that has been taken care of through a new deed, and I have maps for that as well. And I just received that from Land Records yesterday, so was not in your packet for that. And I would like to acknowledge that Matt Ollendorf is here today, if you guys have any comments.
do you have anything additional to this you want to add at this point? Okay. Any other public testimony in regard to this? Any other testimony? Don't see anything on the phone. Any other testimony? If not, would you read the letter from the town?
Yes, so I received a letter from the town of Preston on July 18th, 2024. The town board of, of the town of Preston received a request from Matt Ollendorf for the conditional use permit for the expansion of an existing livestock sighting permit. The town of Preston Board of Supervisors at their July 18, 2024 board meeting passed a motion in favor of his request. The vote was 3-0 in favor of the motion. Sincerely, Kathy Nelson, Clerk, Town of Preston.
Thank you. I don't believe there's a hearing, seeing no other testimony. I will close the public hearing at 8:51 and open it up to the committee for discussion.
Hey, Haley, can you describe the change in lot lines?
Yeah, let me pull up that meeting. So the lots that, okay, there we go. This is going to give a better description. So all the ones that are highlighted in blue are now going to be owned by Brecky Ridge Broilers. And that would include that little, like, trapezoidal piece here. So that would then encompass all the same ownership, so lot lines would not be an issue, and the, what am I trying to say? The barn would go across here, all underneath the same ownership then. And meeting all the required setbacks of 100 feet from all lot lines.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Is there a land base to meet the requirements, or is that not an issue anymore? As like in the past, you needed 40 acres for barn site or manure?
So this is a 50 or 60 acre parcel at this point. And then he has enough surrounding acreage for the spreading of all manure.
Anything else? Somebody want to make the motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay,
Second.
second. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Matt, that is now gone through, and I believe
It's passed.
it's passed. Do we need anything from, I think you submitted all your zoning paperwork, but you'll work with Mark if that has not been approved as of yet, so. You are good to go unless you have more questions. Thank you.
Then item 8 is an appearance by Ed Malashewski. Or et cetera.
Hi, I'm John Craig. I'm a surveyor with Arrow Land Surveying. Here today, we're talking about an ordinance, the ordinance that deals with parcels that don't actually have public road frontage. So Ed Malashewski is my landowner, and he has a large parcel that's separated by the railroad, so it doesn't have public road frontage. The current ordinance calls for approval of these type of parcels if they're done with a CSM and then they meet some other requirements. My request for the committee is to be able to do a couple parcels for Ed Malashewski without the use of a certified survey map. It's kind of a hardship issue for me. You could have hundreds of acres that are separated by the railroad. And a CSM, a certified survey map, the requirement is it has to be on a legal size sheet. And to be able to put, say, hundreds of acres on a legal size sheet is a real pain. And I don't want to do it. I don't think the county surveyor wants to review my maps that way. Currently, the county has a requirement for a CSM on parcels of 20 acres in size or less. So my request here today is similar to that. I'm looking to do a couple parcels that are, one's like 57 acres, the other one's like 75, I think. If I could do them without the use of a certified SUR map, that would really be appreciated. I would say, I guess that's probably my biggest request here today, is just kind of some kind of variance or something where I could do these parcels for him without the use of a certified survey map. My understanding is that the current language in that ordinance was done by the former county administrator, and he didn't actually get input from some of the department heads, so they're not exactly on board with the way it was written. Joe Nelson, the county surveyor, is here today too. He can maybe speak to some of that. I have some maps too of the parcels, but I don't know if you really need to look at those. I think we're just maybe kind of dealing with this issue. That's my big thing, is that to be able to put large piece of land on a legal size sheet is a real pain. And that's where I'm at with this. I don't know if you wanted to talk, Joe, or. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning. Some of you might remember me. I'm attorney Karina O'Brien. I represented Ed Malashevsky. He's been before this committee a couple different times. And just for history here, back in December of 2020, he applied for a variance due to the fact that he cannot divide this property in accordance with the ordinance, and because of the railroad. The railroad is the only reason why he does not have the public frontage. We have a lot of clients who have that problem throughout the county, and so it's one of those issues that I wanted to bring before the board, but I'm using Ed Malashevsky as a great example of that. He has a large operation. We know he's a farmer. Most of his land is agricultural based. And when he filed for the variance petition back in December of 2020, it was focused in on being able to parcel off land that was no longer useful for him. He cannot farm it. It has had significant flooding. When he puts crops in there, they end up underwater. That was, I think, 3 or 4 times in the past 10 years when we were arguing over the variance. So the variance was denied. We took it to the court. The court said that the reason that it was denied was not correct. We came back before the committee. It was denied again, and that's where we left it. But there was discussions at that time, that was around April of 2022, that this ordinance does impact a lot of people in the county, people who own their property long before the ordinance was enacted, and who have not been able to get the frontage, and through no fault of their own, but because of the railroad being there. And so then it's my understanding that the ordinance was amended. And while I appreciate that it carved out an exception, I have 3 issues with the exception. First, that it is that the land is to be considered to be zoned agricultural. Now, for Mr. Malashevsky, that might not be as much of an issue, but for a lot of other individuals in Trempealeau County that have the railroad keeping them from having frontage, that is a problem, because some of them have houses built, they don't have frontage because of the railroad. How are they ever going to be able to maybe pass down certain parcels to their family members? They either have to sell all of it or pass it through. There is an issue there with the agricultural, in the fact that it limits people being able to use the land. And that is one of the reasons for zoning ordinances, I'm sure you're all aware, is that we want to encourage the use of the land. And so this kind of blocks that. The other issue is for ownership or recorded easement of a minimum 66 feet of public highway frontage. Now, my understanding is frontage means ownership. So I think that we have a little bit of language here that's confusing, because are they able to have an easement, or do they need frontage? So I think that if you will give me some leeway to be a little critical of this, is we would like that exception to be carved out a little bit more clearly. And I question why it has to be at right angles if it's an easement, because I'm letting you know that as an attorney, if I am drafting something for a client so that they can transfer, do estate planning, or sell something, I'll give you the frontage, but it might be in an area where there's no possible way to get access to that property. I mean, we might be going up a steep hill that only a goat can pass. So frontage is not always equal access. And so a lot of times we do an easement, but the easement lies with the land. So if this requirement continues, sure, we'll do an easement that will follow what you're requesting, and then we're gonna do another easement that does follow the land. So we need to take a look at what really we're requiring here and whether or not it's actually gonna be accomplished. Because attorneys, as you know, love to try to help our clients as best as we can, so we'll meet your requirements, but we might finagle it a little bit differently so that it meets with what our clients' needs. I can't do that for Mr. Malashewski. He has his property completely blocked by the railroad, and that's not because of anything that he did. In fact, he had this parcel, he's bought and sold different parcels, and so when he couldn't sell off this parcel that was always originally the one that I'm thinking of, he's got a couple different ones, but the one that we were on the variance, it was always its own separate parcel, but because it connected to other land that he had, it became one big contiguous parcel. Okay. For the certified survey map, logistically, that's an expensive problem for an individual who is applying and might not get the waiver, the variance. So it's something I want you to consider is, if it needs to be a requirement of approval, I know Mr. Craig doesn't like that, but I can understand why the department, why the committee would want it to be a condition of approval, but I don't quite understand why it would be a condition of application. And from a lawyer standpoint, we would have certified survey maps recorded against property that might not ever be allowed to be sold. So it seems like we're parceling up property, and then we're gonna have to be using those legal descriptions, but it's still gonna be in the same owner's name. I just wanted to bring those all to your attention. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, the only thing, I thought that part of the crux of that problem was the access across the tracks that, and maybe Mark can refresh that part of it?
He
that-
could not get a legal easement across the tracks. But easements are not frontage, frontage are not easements. So because he is blocked by the railroad, and there's no other way to access that property besides over a license, which is what he was able to obtain. But that's not the only property that we're talking about.
Right,
There's
right.
another property where there would be an easement. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And we'd never had communication with the railroad, it's impossible to,
No, not really. I mean, Mike wrote this, obviously,
Yeah.
that was mentioned, and I guess my concern with it would be the railroad itself. I mean, they
Right.
might deny crossing eventually, you never know. And
Right.
someone's gonna be stuck with something, and then the county will be blamed for letting them do it in the first place. But that's a whole nother thing, I guess, but I didn't talk with the railroad, and I'm guessing Mr. Corman hasn't either, so.
We did I had some communication with the railroad, and the communication that we were trying to verify at the time was whether Mr. Malashewski could transfer his permission to cross the tracks, which he cannot do. It has to be granted to the owner of the property.
all right. So it's called a permission and not an actual easement?
It would be a license for the
license.
landowner, so that's permission for the landowner to use it and nobody else.
Okay.
But each license, just like each easement, can be drafted and be either made very simple or overcomplicated.
Would
So-
that be something that you, as the representative, you would have to do with the railroad?
For the railroad, I didn't have any contact with them directly because we first wanted to see what our options were in getting the real estate. But in order to be able to even create the parcel to be able to sell it. So my understanding for that is the license is to Mr. Malashewski, and then he'd have to work with the railroad and the potential new owner to try to get the license. And But again, that's not a situation that Mr. Malashevsky created, nor is it a situation that any of the other property owners created. It's created because the railroad is what it is. And to the point of them denying access, I think if they deny access for police and fire, they are going to have quite a bit of a problem on their hands, because if they deny anyone to be able to access when someone's been passing over for how many years, through a license, yes, but effectively landlocking property and not even allowing fire or police, I think those individuals, one, there'd be liability to the railroad for that, because what is their negligence or their unreasonable refusal of allowing someone access there causing for damages? I mean, if someone loses their entire house, because we do have houses that are blocked by the railroad, what will that then look like for the railroad? I don't think they're gonna want that kind of liability, but they are very protective of their rights. So it would be something where maybe each and every single landowner is gonna have to sue the railroad to try to get a court order for an easement, but that won't fix the frontage issue. And I don't know that the judge would be able to grant that, depending on each facts of each circumstance.
Beyond Trumpealeau County and Wisconsin, must be hundreds of thousands of, situations like this across the country. How is it handled?
I know that Buffalo County has adopted a similar provision, but I haven't run across the frontage issue as frequently there, and, or with the railroad. And that seems to be a lot in Trempealeau County. With Jackson County, they don't have a similar frontage, so they have their own set of issues with different things, so.
Yeah, I guess I was, more interested how they were handling the license part of the.
I haven't done a survey of the whole state to try to figure out how different counties
Yeah.
have done it. It would be something that would be worth looking at, definitely.
Thanks.
Well, we've heard this information. Any committee commentary?
Question on how it was denied before as far as the background. I moved to the board, so I'm interested in getting the background on what occurred that caused it.
Anybody want to take that one?
Well, I'll try. I guess, was that, a BOA hearing was that denied because they felt that if he wanted to sell it as a whole, it would still be allowed, not splitting it up, I guess. I believe that's what the situation was, so.
So the
They denied
question-
it based on that, I believe. I don't know verbatim, but there was another option of selling the property, would have been selling a landlocked piece as a whole, and it would be allowed, but it would still be landlocked.
Thank you.
It's been a little bit like she had mentioned when it was, but I guess that's the gist of it.
And then the information that was in the packet in regard to all this, the lot requirements deal that came with our packet. I think, that was our first attempt at trying to do something with this. And it came out far from perfect, apparently. So, do we want to?
Dave, I guess I'm a little bit cloudy on what exactly they're requesting. Are they requesting a variance from the ordinance? Or what, are they requesting language to be changed or what?
I believe that they are requesting that the ordinance is changed. And that's the only thing that we could do down the line. Today,
Yeah.
it's just an appearance. They're just letting us know of this issue. We would still need a petition unless the department wanted to bring forth the change on its own. So certainly, Mr. Malashevsky should be looking at whether he wants to do a petition to change the ordinance. But that's all we can do is hear the issue today.
Well, John had talked about a variance, more or less, so I wasn't
Yeah,
sure
we can't
what
do
we were
that.
clarifying. I know we can't do that.
No,
yeah.
this this committee has no authority to do that. We are limited to being a policy-making committee. We are a quasi-judicial committee, but we don't have the authority to decide not to enforce the ordinance of the county. So that would be an issue in and of itself.
Does our surveyor have any commentary on this, or? You're limited to 5 minutes, of course.
I'll make it quick. Do you have any questions of me? Let's start there.
Well, the question of the right angle first, because I know we went through that.
The point of the right angle has to do with how property lines intersect with road right-of-ways. If all property lines intersected at right angles to the road, that wouldn't be necessary, right? Because it'd always be 100 feet. But if you have a property line that basically, if you have a road right-of-way and you have a property that comes at a very tight angle, 100 feet along that road based on that property line at a tight angle could actually be 30 feet, 40 feet, 20 feet. So the reason the ordinance requires 100 feet at right angles is so that you effectively have 100-foot wide at the road right-of-way. We do have some parcels in the county where they do intersect road right-of-ways at that extreme angle, which ends up being an issue with frontage requirement. So the frontage requirement at right angles basically is to define and refine the requirement as much as anything.
Any questions of Joe? Rebecca, did you have anything to add to this?
I guess the only thing I was going to say is that the piece that Susan kind of mentioned, whether they petition or whether we looked at it, I think if the committee wanted to give direction and saying that internally we should look at this and discuss it, we would do that if you thought we should. Or if you think as a committee that we should wait for, some petition to come forward to drive that would be, up to you as well, but we would like to take direction from you before we would start that process of really analyzing and looking at that.
Okay. Thoughts?
We've discussed this quite a few times.
Hang on just a minute. Okay,
Let
go
me
ahead.
just throw this in there. I did have some preliminary discussions with Joe off the record here, and it sounded like he wasn't opposed to being able to do that. Request that, I know we can't maybe do that now, but it sounds like he wasn't opposed to what I was suggesting there.
Well, right now, obviously, we have the ordinance we have to work with.
Right.
Personally, the requirement of a certified survey map in this portion of the ordinance is rather redundant in that we have other requirements for surveying and mapping in other parts of the ordinance that have acreage-specific requirements. In other parts of the ordinance, we have a 20-acre requirement for a certified survey map. Anything other than that, there is no actual requirement for a survey. To require a certified survey map on a preliminary basis for a review that might go south is problematic in that the certified survey map gets recorded and we have an existing parcel out there that nobody can use. It's conflicting to the title, it's conflicting for other use, it's conflicting for real property listers' uses. So the requirement of a certified survey map for the consideration of approval, in my mind, is probably not a good requirement. The requirement of a certified survey map to have a future description for the property, if it's in excess of 20 acres, I think is a little overkill personally. John did mention that certified survey maps are required to be on legal size piece of paper, which is smaller than this, obviously. And to draw a certified survey map, they have a requirement of 1 inch equals 500 scale. Well, sometimes to put a 300-acre parcel at 1 to 500, you end up with multiple sheets with break lines, and you end up with basically subsections of the parcel on each different sheet, which is, I think most users of land records will look at that as a problem simply because it makes it harder to interpret and use, easier to make mistakes. In my opinion, there's no reason why a survey couldn't be allowed that would give the same and meet the same requirements and answer the same questions as a certified survey map would be. They both legally create parcels.
So if I may.
Okay, go.
Joe and I had a chance to talk about this as well as Mark. And the particular language of 303 now could use some improvement and some streamlining. And there are some legalities that I'd prefer not to discuss right now, but we do have some issues with it. And so I would have no objection if it was sent to a larger group to look at it further.
So you're recommending bringing land records and everybody in then, register deeds and all of that?
If it would be okay, and I apologize, I have to leave at 9:20, so I'm just kind of trying to get my statement out there. I think it would be good to bring in a larger group, certainly include Joe, certainly include land management and any other relevant player within county staff, and then bring it back, assuming that is what you guys want to do. We still need to have a public hearing and so forth. We need to follow the appropriate process.
What I'm picking up here is we probably need to do some looking at this. What occurs to me is from this committee today, do we just need a consensus to have somebody, or do we need a motion from this committee directing this to happen?
We still eventually need a petition. So I don't know if Mr. Malashewski will want to do one on his own to request the change. The county technically can do it as well and bring it forward on its own to change its own ordinance.
My thought on that was if he brings it forward, it would probably get acted on quicker. If we're left to our own devices, it may become not the primary thing we do.
I understand and I can appreciate that, but also we have members of the county, you know, who are employed and are advising that there are issues. So there's a part of me that thinks maybe it would be better if it came from the county, that the county was going to correct issues with the ordinance rather than that an individual was bringing it forward. But I can certainly talk to my client about bringing forward a petition.
Understanding that it could not be a public hearing item, we could still provide a status update, very limited, next month if needed. We can't, a petition, when you file a petition, you have rights as the petitioner. We don't want to, you know, if the county's doing it, the county is going to be the one that really leads that charge and provides its own policy. A petitioner is going to have independent due process rights, for example, as part of the hearing that we just saw, right? And so it's a decision to have and that your client will need to make, and whether you want the county to lead it, which we could, or whether more involvement is really beneficial. And we can talk about that later, but just so you're aware that there's the pros and cons with everything.
Okay. So, now you have to leave.
I have to leave in a minute. because
Anything on that solar policy that is a real issue?
If you want to call it, I'll just give a quick 2 seconds.
Okay. We're gonna put this on the table or aside for right now, so Susan can give us her update on the solar policy committee before she leaves.
My apologies, I have a meeting or a hearing in 10 minutes, and so I need to leave quite quickly. I believe that everything that I had submitted as a recommendation was essentially what was shared last month. What I do want to point out, and I would request, if the committee feels that it's appropriate, that county staff can adopt the policy that has already been adopted by the county as a whole when it's considering the small-scale solar energy projects for CUPs, so that we can look at that. And certainly, you know, take a look at everything else. I apologize, I have to go. Some of these are clarifications, some of these are new things to the policy overall, although I would always recommend that there's compliance with all, you know, applicable law, and that we know of the ownership.
Okay.
So, and if there's any questions afterwards, I will come back when my meeting's done. I just don't know whether you guys will be done already.
Okay.
Hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you.
work on this.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now, back to the previous item on where we want to go, how we want to do it. committee have something to input?
Well, if we want to follow Susan's recommendation, then it sounds like the county we should take action and review it.
So basically, what Susan was recommending was an ad hoc committee that would go through and investigate the relationship to the ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
So, okay, does anybody disagree with that idea?
I don't disagree, but as Susan was saying, are they gonna wanna be part of that? Because, so they can have more, would you say input, more ownership on it? So I guess if we go ahead and go through it, they're not gonna be part of it. Do we
Right.
wait for them to come back and say they wanna be part of it for the
Two
petition?
separate things. And
Is it
file-
two separate?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
To answer your question, Andy, I think once we would get language to the public hearing, that would be their chance to voice their opinion.
Okay, I guess, who wants to be in charge of putting the committee together? One of you two? Becky, you? You will? Oh, okay,
We'll discuss.
discuss,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you need a motion to have a committee formed then, or not? Okay.
Do, you- with us having an expectation of next month, some kind of report?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think we got that covered. We have a zoning update with Mark.
Well, I had a couple things. I guess I don't know if anybody's been notified of any of these. An ongoing issue with Kuhn Trucking in Arcadia. You know, there's neighbors complaining about trucks being overloaded and stuff falling off the trucks, which is not a condition that we have authority over anyways, and they've been told that numerous times. But they are persistently still bringing it to our attention, the town's attention. Our ordinance, or not our ordinance, but our condition basically was more on the dust and the sound.
Okay.
And every time I go by there, I don't see that as being over the top as far as not following their conditional use. The town hall is right there, next to this facility. I've asked them. You know, they don't really see any concerns of that when they bother to try to notice anything. And I told the landowner in question that if stuff's falling off the trucks, you know, call the sheriff's department, or even call Ashley and say, quit loading these people up and letting them leave your lot without a cover on it. But who knows if that'll go anywhere with Ashley, but that's beyond our control. You know, they need to understand there are certain things that are beyond our control. And I don't want any more control than what's spelled out in the conditional use.
Okay,
So that's one thing. And then the guy that last month when we brought up the commercial electrical inspection, and we decided, we didn't really decide too much at the time, but, you know, we're trying to get a contract with GEC with our 1- and 2-family dwellings. I don't want to muddle it up anymore and to add commercial to that, but to be designated a commercial delegated agency, we have to have either a person on staff or we need to contract at the GEC. And the individual's not happy with what GEC is charging him through DSPS. So I don't know if we want to get involved with commercial building. I mean, in this case, you know, he could go through the city of Galesville also and get them to be designated like the city of Blair does. I just told him I'd bring it up. And then right now, we got bigger fish to fry with GEC, and they're dragging their feet on our contract, and I just don't want to add anything more to it at this time, I guess. And, but I know he's talked to other members, and maybe they got a comment, but I guess right now, that's kind of my stance on it, I guess. I mean, I'm not against it, but right now, we want to get what we already have in place ironed out before we add any additional items to a contract. You know,
they're not responding to your questions and say, how are you coming? They're not, or,
They're not, I mean, I've talked to the building inspector that comes in here, and he relays stuff to them also. And it's always been that, well, it's coming this week, or it's coming next week, and it hasn't. And something to do with their lawyer looking at it, and, you know, some of the, I mean, it has to be ironed out, but I mean, as far as the major changes we would be making, we're talking cents as far as square foot price change, you know, $10 or $15 on a standard, like $150 would be $165. I think that's acceptable, you know, for them, because they haven't had a change in their costs for 3 years, you know. So, I mean, there's gonna be the assumption that it would have to go up, it ain't gonna go down. And,
But that's the general conversation, that's kind of the amount that it will go to? Or
yeah, they
that-
propose an amount, and we've had that, you know, for months now, but I guess the contract is what's being ironed out. Some language in the contract that Susan wanted to have changed, and their lawyer's looking at it, and it's just not moving along as fast as I'd like to see. I mean, we got a little bit of time before it expires, and maybe there's a period there where there'd be something temporary, but I hope it all works out, I mean, as far as them getting their stuff here finalized, but, and it's something now that we have a county administrator, I don't know if we need to have contracts approved by the committee anyways, as far as signing it. I think it would probably go through the corp council or with Rebecca. So, I mean, we're not gonna be hung up having to wait till next meeting to approve something. Because we would change, if we're gonna change fees, we would do that maybe the first of the year or something, you know, because, and that we would do at the committee level. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd agree with Mark or whatever. I don't know if we want to stick our nose in commercial because we're more county zoning rural, or the cities would, I don't know how much it'll be coming
At
this
this
way.
point, I'd kind of agree to let the commercial stay where it's at.
Well, man, I'll pass that along, but right now,
I mean,
I think as of right now, because of the way the scenario is, it's not something we can change it at any time, you know, at any time, you know, and I guess, I want to get everything else straightened out before because they haven't gave us any fees for that, and I don't know how much different the fees would be, but so that's, and then, we have some citations floating around out there right now. I don't know if any landowners have called any committee members, but there's a couple that are kind of on the hook for a pretty major fine if they don't have something cleaned up by a certain date, and then there's others that have just been issued. And they would be, you know, a couple months from now, they'd be in the same boat, you know. We're talking of retroactive citations that factor into thousands of dollars instead of just $200 fine, you know. And the two that are in question, it hasn't lit a fire under them because it still looks the same. So I guess they're gonna have to see what happens. That comes up like next Wednesday, I guess, is the date on those two. And then they'll have to go to court. And that's pretty much it. And I guess it's just I don't have anything else, I don't think. Let me check my notes here.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you, is there any chance, I understand what you're trying to do with the inspection company, but at least get some numbers from them, from commercial?
Yeah, I can ask them that.
I mean, we can say, you know what, where are we at?
Where are we
So
at?
that way
Yeah.
we can compare.
No, that's not a problem. I mean, it's no more work on our part really, other than we're normally not involved with commercial stuff. I guess.
Right.
In the rural setting, we permit the structure, that's it, done. And then the cities, in this case, it's in the city of Galesville. You know, the city of Galesville could very well do what that person is asking of us. But the city of
Absolutely.
Galesville will let the county deal with it, you know, pass the
Right.
buck kind of a thing, you know, and, no, I don't have a problem at all getting some costs, you know.
I just like,
and-
I'm curious of, okay, you know what are you gonna contract?
Right.
If we did it, or the city did it, what's
Yeah.
your contract for this commercial?
Yeah, I guess
You know?
I can do that. Once we get everything else ironed
Yeah,
out, then I'll
yeah.
reach out and say, hey, what's your fee schedule for commercial electrical, I guess is the
Yeah,
biggest thing right
that's
now.
the-
Not everything commercial, just
Right,
the
just to
electrical.
kind of get an idea of where we would be sitting compared to that guy that has to
Right.
spend all that money.
Yeah,
and if our cost comes in comparable to what it is now, then we don't help anything by
Yeah,
taking on.
then it's
If our-
null and void anyway.
Projected
I mean,
cost is,
I don't know how they can charge one if someone isn't delegated and all of a sudden someone's delegated and everything costs less. That doesn't make no sense to me, but because the state requires it to be inspected, I guess they're at the mercy of whatever company's doing it.
Right.
And then if we do have if we're the delegating authority and we have a contract with a certain dollar amount, then we would know that things are set in stone for whatever the contract would be, you know.
Right, I just hate that.
And I think we can add that to the contract, you know, a couple months down the road, once we get it, what we want out of them first,
Right.
before we decide to start adding stuff to it.
I just don't want to slow down development.
No, I
because
wouldn't
this is
either,
going
but
on.
I
So
guess,
that,
you know.
I just want to see, I mean,
Well, where's our jurisdiction? I mean, we only do, we're not city. We don't.
Yeah, we don't do zoning in the
So, I
cities and
mean-
villages, but we
Right.
do 1 to 2 family dwelling inspections on primarily all of them, I believe, except for the city of Blair, you know.
but
they
it'd just be
can't-
nice to have the idea of saying, no, to help out a guy, not to say, we do it, to say, so, as a entity, as big as we are compared to a guy who's not even close to as big as Trempealeau County, what's the fee difference? I mean, why?
Yeah, I'll bring that up to the GEC once I get out
Right,
of
yeah,
them what
yeah,
I
I'm just,
want out
that's
of
all
them
I'm
right now,
asking. I mean,
you know.
just to reach out and help out a local guy, not saying do it, just see where we're at.
Yep. They would come up with a rate, just like 1 and 2 family dwelling. The biggest thing, if everything's not a square footage, you could have 5 floors, so that's this square footage, it all adds up, and then that's what the fee would be. It might be a substantial amount, it might be a reasonable amount compared to what they're doing now, but I think that's something we could, unless they charge per, I don't know, something per unit, but a lot of stuff is square footage, so. But no, I can reach out once we get things ironed out. That's all we can hope for, I guess, so, yeah. I'm not gonna, I don't want to totally ignore the idea, but I do like the fact that we don't deal with commercial, but just like, we're doing things on the requests of landowners for everything, this is no different than that, I guess.
Okay. Haley, with the cost share requests.
Yeah, so I am bringing forward another round. We did this back in April, I think, is what it was. I don't remember all my times. So we have been working with NRCS, and we have a good handful more projects that we would like to get done here this fall. And in the nature of just being transparent on what we are hoping to accomplish, I'm just gonna run through looking at another waterway system, another grade stay repair, another one that is, the pipe is failing, so getting that repaired so that it doesn't blow out in the coming rains that we've been having, a wetland restoration, and then we also have our cover crops that are doing again this year. So that would, most of them, the hard practices, so like the waterways, the grade staves, the wetland, that's gonna be with NRCS, and they are working with us, so we're having a better partnership on those. And then the cover crops, this is something we do, we have been doing since 2021. So we are using our SEG funds along with some of the county cost share, with a total of almost 1,200 acres going in this year. So that is an increase from last year, which is really great to see. With the remaining totals there at the bottom, that brings our overall totals available down, but these are estimated total costs, so these are not bid costs. So these totals could change depending on what bids come in as. So what I would be looking for is if you guys are okay with us moving forward with these practices, and that's really why I'm bringing them forward, is just the okay to make sure that we're good to use the funds that we have already allocated and signed up for on these types of practices. Very similar to what we had before, just working more with NRCS on some of these. So if you have any questions, otherwise I would look for a motion.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Just so I can understand it more. When it comes to your estimated county cost, where's that money coming from? I mean, the county, where do we get that money? Is it through grants?
So
Is
it
it through
depends
taxpayers?
on, so DATCAP bond, the funding source, that's going to come from our DATCAP grant that we get every year. If it says county cost share, that's going to be our levy that we receive, and that is something that we have been receiving since 2013, I think, and then it took a lapse, and then it was prior to that as well. So we have received that as well. So it just depends on the funding source. There are other potential funding sources, but these are the ones I have listed right now.
But the 174 and change there, that was put in our budget, that was the budget that was approved, so it's there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everything is in the budget, is there, is allocated, just looking for an approval on the practices that we want to use.
I'll move to approve the practices that you guys have established with the fundings that you have allocated.
Second.
Did you both, or did
No,
Tony did?
Tony.
Okay, Tony second. Okay, any other questions?
One question. How are they advertised now for the individual grants? Is there a program that they have to get word out to landowners as far as specific, or what is I'm just not familiar enough with how you guys are advertising that they're available.
So we are doing a different ways about it. We do have landowners call us, and we go out and say that we either can or can't do funding sources depending on what the project may be or how much the project may cost, because we are only allocated so much. Some projects that we go out to, we're like, oh yeah, that's gonna be way more than we even have close to coming to. We have flyers, we're talking to like our farmer-led networks. If we go on any other inspections, like our operation and maintenance inspections, our livestock sighting, or anything like that, we also bring up our different funding sources if they have any practices that they would be interested in. So.
Because the 22nd, they do have the cover crop tour. So if
Correct.
there was some money left that still hadn't been allocated, I was hoping to advertise that there was still money that you guys are looking to disperse for conservation practices.
So cover crops are already, like, the application period has ended. So that
Okay.
was ended in July 15th, and that was advertised in multiple different fashions.
Right.
The BTFN group, which is the 22nd, they also have their own funding source as well for cover crops. So, and they are
Right.
looking for that too.
But those are people that would not just do cover crop, but they'd have
Correct.
other ones available. So if their funding was still available, I was going to tell them, as far as when I was there, that, hey, we can see some things that need fixed, and if you guys are interested, there's still funds available.
Yeah, if there is other hard practices, that is definitely something we could look at, and it could be something we look at for 2025. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and I believe, well, I'll talk about that in my conservation
That's
update
fine,
too.
I didn't mean to jump ahead.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second in regard to these practices. Any other questions? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Awesome, thanks, guys. Okay,
And your conservation update comes next.
perfect. I was like, I should wait. Okay, so conservation update, quick one here. So conservation practices, we, as you can see with all the rains and everything, we have been getting a lot more calls. That is part of what those slew were that we just approved. And NRCS is getting more calls too. So we're trying to partner a little bit more so that all of our dollars go a little bit further. And then we are getting some of those other projects that we already approved back in April. Those are getting completed as well. We are hoping to get all of them done before the end of the year, but if we can't, then we'll look at transferring them into 2025, but we are pushing to have them all completed. So long as the weather and Mother Nature holds out, but we'll see what happens. Tree and shrub, I feel like I just gave an update on the one that just completed, but we're looking at ordering for 2025 already. So looking for potential suggestions. I am in the process of ordering some. We are looking at, again, ordering online, going through that process that we have last year, starting in November, and, going through that because I have had really great feedback on the whole program and it seems to be working really well. So going to continue to roll with it, making little tiny adjustments. But otherwise, if anyone has suggestions or anyone listening has suggestions, I'm always open to that. Can't guarantee I'll be able to find them because it's also at the mercy of other nurseries, but always looking for something else that maybe I didn't think of. So that is tree and shrub update. And then upcoming events. So this is where I was talking about. We have a couple different events coming up. Let me pull up a couple of them here so that we can see them. I don't know. So the first one is going to be actually tomorrow, and it is with UW Extension, and Steve Ocknick is going to be leading that one, our Ag Extension agent, and that is going to be in Ettrick area. I think it's between Ettrick and Galesville, actually. So it's going to be about sunflowers, nitrogen, and more. So they did an actual nitrogen optimization pilot program, so it's a grant program, and this will be held on Sam Bibby's farm, and they're growing sunflowers in hopes that it reduces nitrogen, I believe. I don't know a ton about it, so I can't speak for what their goal was, but I know that it's going to be very interesting, and I was really hoping to go, but I have another meeting I have to go to. So just wanted to bring this to your attention, and it is in our county, so it's just something interesting to look at. So the next thing is August 22nd, which is what Kevin was talking about. And that is going to be our Buffalo Trempealeau Farmer-led network. They are doing a bus tour on different farms that they have been doing interseeding on and cover crops on. So this is going to start at the Malachewski Dairy on 93. They're going to be looking at interseeded corn, clover into wheat, and a variety of other ones. Starting at 3, bus leaving at 3:30, and then there is going to be a dinner afterwards for more discussion. So we are the grant holders of this group, so we are part of this and going through it. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. So a lot of things going on in August. The other and last event that we have going on that we're also helping out with is going to be in partnership with Buffalo County and also Trout Unlimited. We are doing a joint kind of event, and it is called, let me get this pulled up, Healthy Fish for a Healthy Future, Stream Restoration, Lunch and Learn. So it's in the, over the lunch hour. Again, a meal is provided, and we'll learn about different stream restoration projects. And there's going to be a panel of landowners that have had projects completed on their property, both in Buffalo County and in Trempealeau County, and other landowners can, ask the questions, see what it is all about. This is in the partnership with Trout Unlimited also because we're trying to get more partnerships involved and getting more, having the dollars go further. So we're hoping to get kind of Trout Unlimited, the elk rod and gun clubs, or all the other different rod and gun clubs too, doing those, larger restoration projects as a whole, NRCS, everything like that. So that is our other one that we have coming up. So really great events coming up, and I just wanted to make sure that those were highlighted for you guys. Any questions on my end?
I have one when I know you said you didn't know a lot about the sunflowers, but you said sunflowers and nitrogen. Is that to prevent leaching or to be able to use less, or do you have any idea what the purpose is?
Yeah, I'm wondering, again, this is why I feel like it would be, great to attend, is if the sunflowers are then planted on the fields, in a rotation to either pull up nitrogen or put it back in. I'm not sure which direction it's going. So I wish I could give you more information. But if you had more comments or weren't able to attend, I bet you could give Steve Ocknick with Extension a call, and he could probably describe all of it for you because he's the lead research on that part of it. So
Dave, they do actually use them for cleaning soil as far as,
cleaning
in
soil
the
to-
Ukraine, they use them for cleaning radiation. And that was how Ukrainian sunflower production got to be so high, because of Chernobyl, and they do have a drawing effect as far as, I'm not sure what Steve is exactly working with, but they do clean up contaminants in soil. And if you do have excessive spillage and stuff, they utilize a lot of nitrogen.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
What happens when they decompose then?
It's broke down just as normal. You'll have normal denitrification that'll occur, and you won't have any large pollutants. But that's one thing they've used sunflowers for, is cleaning up areas that are contaminated with undesirables, pollutants. Yeah, it is when you get to see the areas too. Around Chernobyl, that they planted sunflowers like crazy, just to try to remove the radiation. Disadvantage of teaching environmental science for 35 years.
I was like, I thought I heard that, but I wasn't totally confident in speaking on it. So thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Yep.
Just ask in relation to that, then are the seeds edible for animals?
They usually crush them for oil.
Crush them for oil.
That's sunflower, and we did it back in the early 70s.
Yeah.
We used as a companion crop for when we ran beans, and basically you'd move them for the black seed for the oil.
Yeah, I meant about the contamination. if
The
that-
contamination does not follow the
Does
oil.
not follow.
I'm not sure if it follows the feed stuff along with it, but it does not follow the oil, because we were able to sell oil off areas that we were cleaning up. And if you have people that go through and they're in reclamation, sunflowers are used in reclamation also. So if you have a contaminated site.
Yeah.
So it might be an interesting one tomorrow.
Right, likely, yes. Okay, thank you, both of you. You were done, or?
I am done.
You're done, okay.
Yep.
Good. Future agenda items. Anybody got anything specific, or pretty much leave it to staff?
We'll probably bring something back for that railroad parcel thing, you know,
Okay,
and, I got nothing else to, nobody's turned anything in for conditional uses or rezones or anything like that, so.
Okay,
I had a quick question. It's quick. So in a situation where like our highway department does some construction, but then the way that the road or that's left, it affected how the water was running, like watershed, where would that kind of issue go to be discussed?
well, you're talking Pine Creek area? What, do you have a specific problem in mind?
I did talk to somebody earlier last Friday, yeah.
The last 3 highway meetings, we've had that on our discussion. Nobody's come up with a solution yet. Some of it is finger pointing one to another, I believe. That's a personal opinion, not a committee opinion.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the committee and the notes then, yeah.
We did actually, if you're talking the same one down, Dodge area down there, is that, no? You got another one?
This
Or where is it? Not Dodge, what? Where am
was
I?
County D,
Oh,
yep,
D.
D, like just north of Ettrick.
South of Whitehall and going to Ettrick.
Yeah.
and
Oh, okay,
down.
that's a
Out that
different one.
way.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
We haven't talked, we haven't had that one yet to deal with. We're dealing with one farther down.
Well, now I'm curious about that one, I'm from Dodge.
Well, I
I know
know
what you're
that,
talking
I
about,
know
yeah.
the D one, that's a state grant or whatever, so
Okay.
that might be engineered if,
Yeah.
in talking with Neil, that's, might not be a county, that might be a different contractor.
Yeah, I
on that
think
one.
County D, if I remember right, with that particular grant, has to be all, the county can't do one stitch
Correct.
of work on it.
Correct.
So it's all engineer and contractor.
If it's the same area you and I are thinking that we've
Yeah.
heard about, that's,
Over towards the Jackson County line
Yes.
over there, yeah, yeah. Yep. The other one's, it's an issue, the other one's an issue, but I don't know how it's gonna get dealt with. But there's a big party coming there so soon, and they're concerned about water during that, I know that. But, anyway. Anything else for today? Okay. Confirm the meeting date, Wednesday, September 4th. Yep. It's Wednesday after Labor Day, so at the normal 8:30 in the morning time, I assume. Anything else for this committee today? If not, I'll turn the meeting at 9:49.